What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of SCUM. This right here is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That is Rex with thrice X's. Count them, and it's 3 for a reason. You might also know me as a.k.a. the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. We're almost at the finish line. The DNA testing is almost conclusive, and we will find out what we've all known since the beginning, that you are looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man. Mr. Wop, Bop, Loo Bop, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot damn. Whew. Feeling good? And, of course, everybody in the house looking good. That is, of course, made possible by a little product. Never hurts to put a little product in the quaff and spray responsibly. The 80s has caused irreparable damage in the ozone, so careful out there, kids. This hairspray stuff is a force to be reckoned with. As always, I'm coming to you from the lush lavender lounge of love, where it all goes down. And I'm joined, as always, by my friend, my confidant, my consigliere, my doorman, my head of security, my bailiff, if you will, when things get rowdy, my occasional drug liaison when I need a little hookup. Keith Hernandez Puppet, ladies and gentlemen. Give this man some credit. Who are you, 10-time Gold Glover there, Keith? 86 Mets world champion. Put some respect on that man's name. He don't say much, but when he does, it's poignant. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get no frills because you get plenty of thrills, and we all know what that is. That's looking at me. And you, Keith, with all due respect. And today, we got ourselves a good one. One that I'm excited about, with a band that I'm really excited about, and I hope all of you guys will get excited about them too, because I love what I'm hearing, and I'm going to implore people to go out and check these boys out. Implore. I don't do a lot of imploring on this show, but I do want people to go check this band out, and we'll get into all the reasons, the multitude of reasons why, when we talk to the boys here. And we're going to get supposedly double the pleasure here. So, okay, here we go. Looks like our boys are here. So let's chop it up on PodScum with them. Let's do it. Elevator music while we wait. Where's the boys? Where's the boys?
Hey man, can you hear me?
Just can't see you yet. Just enable your camera. I can hear you fine. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me get somewhere where I look half decent, Rex. All right. Hang on. Give me a second there. Ugh. I think Ollie's joining in a bit. Liam, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
There he is. Look at that. A real rock star right there. At least a guy on his way to being a fucking rock star. You better be.
How you doing, man? You cool?
Good. This is, of course, Liam Howard, right?
Yeah. That's
Liam Howard from a band that once Ollie gets in here, I'm going to really put the squeeze on my audience here to really get behind you guys, because for a lot of reasons, and I'll expound on those when Ollie gets in here. You know, these pretentious rock star frontmen, they always take a long time, right? They leave you waiting, right? Ollie's going to find out when he gets in here that he's not going to be the best blonde frontman for a change, you know, in the room. He's going to have to contend with me. And, of course, I am, Liam, if you don't know, cut from the cloth of the greatest right there.
Oh,
I don't know if you can see. I don't know if you can see Diamond Dave back there.
Is that Diamond Dave over there?
Always looking at us. Liam, though, until Ollie gets in here, man, you are, of course, the guitar player for YIKES. YIKES. Who comes up with that name, by the way, while we're waiting for Ollie here? We'll just, we'll just chinwag a little here. Who comes up with YIKES?
Well, the official story is we all once decided to take a peek at each other's wangs, and we were so impressed by the massive scale of them all. We went, yikes, man. And that was how the story.
I'll tell you what, though, man, that's a story you're going to be telling to a lot of fucking rock journalists, I hope, over the years, man. Hey, at least it's a good one, right? I mean,
that's nah. To be honest, like it's more one of them things where it just looked fucking awesome on a poster. Eye-catching. You can really build a brand around the look of it, the logo that we chose, the color scheme that we chose.
Sure.
Yeah, just something significant. We wanted something that had all the effect of an exclamation mark to just grab people's attention when they saw it or where they heard it. So that's the less rock and roll answer, I guess.
Well, no, I like your answer more, though, because it's very, obviously Tommy Lee's wang is the stuff of legend, and I'll tell you what, he's parlayed it into a pretty good career. I mean, sex tapes. Well, obviously he happens to be in a huge rock and roll band. That doesn't hurt either. But I mean,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. I mean, all that stuff has got to be taken with a certain caveat, though, because, but I don't know. It seems like a lot of females have certainly backed up his claims. So, I mean, there's got to be something there.
I mean, we all saw the Instagram picture. He's not got much to hide, has he?
Yeah. I mean, if he ever drops a drumstick, man, he's fine. I mean, he can just he could just keep banging right along with what he's got down there in the nether regions. I mean, but I'm curious though, how are you guys embraced over there in your country? Because of course you guys are across the pond. What's been the reception like for Yikes over there?
People are into it, man. People are they're definitely behind us. I think over here there's not there's not as much of the real aggression and sort of attack that a lot of bands that we love have anymore. I mean, there's some really, really good bands coming out of the UK at the moment, but everyone's a little bit like worried of like upsetting people, or if I do this or if I do that, am I gonna like get in trouble for it?
Yeah.
And we did spend a long time being like that in the early days, and now we've got to a point where it's like, well, no, actually, because there are things within the industry that annoy us, and there are things within life that annoy us, and we want to feel like we can talk about those things and express those things without it always constantly being this concern of like, oh, are we going to get in trouble if we do that or say that?
Right.
So I think for us, like, when people get it and they understand that and they're like, oh, these guys are doing something that musically is great and is has attitude and has style, and it's refreshing and it's a breath of fresh air. I think that in itself gets received best when people really understand the band.
Yes.
But because it's so different to a lot of what's going on within the music industry in the UK at the moment, I think that's made it a little bit of a long game for people to fully get what we're doing, if that makes sense.
Right. Who would have thought, though, that we'd ever be sitting here one day talking about offending people when it comes to the world of rock and roll? You know what I mean? Like, wasn't there always, I mean, I'm 50 years old, but I grew up obviously in an era, especially throughout the 80s. I mean, it was all about attitude and style and being brash. And, a lot of it was about offending people. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like, it seems like, rock and roll is slowly starting to lose its edge, which I'm glad to hear that there are young bands out there who want to try to maintain that edge.
Yeah, and we don't do it in like an overt way either. Like, we don't look at it as like a gimmick. There's certain artists out there where it's like, I'm gonna make this whole I'm angry, I'm punk, etc. thing as like my gimmick, right? And we have all outside the band we've worked with in the music industry and stuff, and it's like, well, I in particular see a lot of those things as like gimmicks, and no, with us, what you get, man, is it's just what it is. It's straight up fucking rock and roll. It's in your face. It's dirty. It's aggressive. The gigs, the way we perform, we're not shying away from anything. We're loud. We're abrasive, and we can be provocative, and you know, a lot of that comes from Ollie. Ollie's like the way that he performs and the way that he approaches the audience and stuff. You know, I mean, I really respect him in that regard, because he's just himself. He's just entirely himself. There's nothing contrived, and I think that's the important thing about us. We like having a cool logo, and we like having a, you know, a cool production value and stuff, but none of it's contrived or an effort to capitalize on anything. You know what I mean?
Right. I think he's coming in here right now. So, but like, so who do you guys model your sound after, though? Is there like a band that collectively you guys as a band like look at and say, you know, like that's kind of like our what we're aspiring to be? Is there more or less, like, is there a band that you guys as a band collectively agree on?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's pretty obvious from the sound. You know, we love bands like Nirvana and Oasis, and
there he is,
man.
And I'll tell you what, Ollie. For once, man, and I was telling Liam before you came in here, for once, you're not going to be the best looking blonde frontman in this conference call. I'm sorry. Here I am, buddy. Here I am.
I love it, my friend. I saw your videos earlier. I knew I was in for a bit of a challenge tonight.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, you know, I got Pops looking down on me back here. You know, this is what you're aspiring to right here.
Is that David Lee Roth?
Well, of course. And by the way, just to let you guys know, I can pull off that smoldering look. Not so much the chest hair, but I can pull off the smoldering look. but the thing is, OLI Long, can you pull it off? I think you can. I think you can. Yeah. But me and Liam were having a good discussion when you came in here, though. I'd like to know, and I'd like to hear from you too. Is there a frontman and or a band that is kind of like the template, like which you guys kind of aspire to?
It's a tough one, actually, because like within the band there's like sort of 4 very diverse opinions on that very subject. I guess there's sort of like, you know, but for me it's a tough one, actually. Originally I would have said, you know, probably the normal answer would have been Nirvana. You know, would have been.
That's what I hear a lot of.
Of course, but if I'm going to be 100% honest with you, in terms of like my true obsession, like that has turned into what has turned into my true obsession, has been Scott Weiland. You know.
Oh, okay. Oh, the late great Scott Weiland. Yeah, rest in peace to you know, one of the all-time greats, one of the all-time. And you know what? Criminally underrated, because, you know, Stone Temple Pilots kind of came along, it seems like, when grunge was exploding, but they were just in, you know, at the last moment, and they got ripped a lot for being, you know, quote unquote, you know, kind of copying a sound that was already there, which I don't think they were doing at all.
I don't think so either. No. I think there was something a lot more complex going on there, to be honest with you.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I gave Lostalgia a listen to last night. In my mind, and you know, I'm 50 years old, as I was explaining to Liam here, man. So, you know, obviously I've heard a lot of music, you know, over the course of my years, but I think this is a real special album. It really, really is. And kudos to you guys for making it. It's very, very interesting, enjoyable, complex, all the good things that you're looking for in a total album experience. I mean, I know you guys consider it an album or an EP?
It was written as an album, Lostalgia. We had 11 songs, and it was during COVID. We kind of thought, we'd done 2 EPs before that, and we thought, right, let's you know, have a proper crack at self-producing an album, because the first 2 were self-produced. I mean, that record, and I think it was because of the COVID situation, you know, we didn't have much else going on to occupy us. So me and Ollie would spend copious amounts of time on those mixes. For me, I think it was more of a case of, you know, I knew once we'd kind of done the mixing process, it was like, okay, that project was finished. And I think there was a part of me that didn't want it to finish because I had nothing else to occupy my head. Right. And we drove ourselves absolutely mad making that record. And then we shortened it down to just 7 or 8 songs. And that was mainly because we weren't happy with how the rest of them came out. I think with Lostalgia, it was like an album that had a real start, middle, finish, and, like, you know, had a concept behind it and everything. But I think, like, just the environment, the time period, you know, trying to make that work in the way we heard it in our heads we just thought, man, we gotta condense this down to like a 7-track EP, and it was really, really stressful trying to get it right, because we knew how good it could sound, but like, you know, we're doing it in a spare bedroom at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And we kind of ended up having to do like a pint-sized version of it. But there are some good songs on there, man.
Amazing, amazing songs. Ali, what's the creative process like when you guys like sit down and make an album together? Like does someone come in with the lion's share of the material? Is it kind of a collaborative effort? Do all you guys you kind of spitball ideas around?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the main sort of, I guess if you were going to look at it in sort of a Beatles analogy, the backbone of us is Liam. In terms of like the main body of work comes from Liam, I guess, you know. And say, for example, if he shows me a song, where I'm generally good is like just coming up with something, you know, fairly catchy, or if there's a certain part of the song missing or something, you know. And then if something generally, you know, if there's something I'm really proud of, then I'll put it forward to the band. But the main sort of body of work really is it comes from Liam, and I just sort of interpret what he's doing, I guess, you know.
Like Ollie does a lot of the lyrical stuff. He's better at that stuff than me. Ollie's like, the way Ollie writes lyrics is very direct. He's got a way of like writing something where it's like kind of like equally catchy, but equally sort of like hits the sort of nail on the head to some degree. You know, I can get like lost in the areas with big words. You know, I can be a bit like a thesaurus sometimes, you know. So sometimes if I've got nothing to say, I'll just like do wordplay and be like, yeah, these words sound nice together, and it's fancy and it's very like, you know, Arctic Monkeys-esque or whatever. But I'll come in and he'll just say like 3 words, and that'll just say more than like 20 of whatever I've tried to write. You know.
Well, I always say, Mark. Sorry to interrupt.
No, but please go ahead.
I look at do you know much about Rick Rubin?
Oh, of course. I mean, he's you know, over here on our side of the pond, I mean, he's a music impresario. He's a legend. He's put a lot of great acts on. I mean, and the thing I like the most about Rick, outside of the fact that he's a very smart guy, he's not afraid to work in different genres. I mean, you see him working with Slayer, the Beastie Boys, the Chili Peppers. You know, I mean, you know, the guy's got a very wide palette and a very eclectic taste. You know, that's I've always admired that about him, where he's not worried about, you know, do people see him as a metal guy? Do people see him as an alternative guy? You know, I mean, he just kind of, you know, he does his own thing, which I'm always going to applaud that. Yeah,
sure. I just really appreciate like his simplistic sort of, you know, there's like, for me, there's like some real joy to be found in like the complexities of like the simple shit, you know, rather than like focus on writing something necessarily too extravagant. It would be just more how I put it across or something that, you know, I'd focus on. But yeah, we were speaking about this earlier because I was with Liam earlier. I was saying like, because to be honest, I haven't really been with these guys for too long, and I was saying I feel like I'm burning out with trying to produce tracks anyway, because it's like, I don't know, to be a band at the minute, you sort of like, I get a bit upset sometimes. Maybe it's an excuse, I don't know, but I just feel like I wish like I didn't have to think about like half of the shit you have to think about to be in a band nowadays, you know. I wish I could just really focus on being like the best frontman I can be, but instead I have to be like, we have to call people to book venues, we're constantly fucking, you know, we have to sort the videos, we have to do, as Liam says, like we genuinely did go mad producing that album, you know, like genuinely, because, you know, one person hears something one way. You know?
We literally were crying when we got the masters. because like not even like the first time when he sent them back, the dude had just completely brick-walled everything that we'd done, and like, but not in a good way. It sounded bad, and it was like, fuck, man, we've worked on this for like 8 months, and we've been going out of mind, and we heard it, and it was just pants, like really, really bad. So like, you know, but very limited in what we could do then. And that was when we turned around and said, like, forget this, we're going to find somebody else to do the production bit.
But I get what Ollie's saying, though, because back in the day, the formula was much simple. You know what I mean? A record company really did its job. You know what I mean? It snatched up great young bands like yourself, and it really put the machine in motion. And you're right, a lot of that stuff was taken off of your plate, you know what I mean, where you could just focus on the artistic side of it, and you had all these, like, tentacles and satellites out there kind of doing shit for you, which is certainly nice. I don't know that even it doesn't seem to exist anymore.
I don't
No.
think so. Not that we've encountered, Liam, have we? We haven't sort of encountered anything.
No, the whole game's different now. You know, it's like things like festival lineups are a huge example. Like there was we used to have this manager who used to look after us, and we speak about this all the time. And we were once looking into festivals, and we were looking at Coachella, the lineup from a couple of years ago, and the Coachella lineup that year had been completely curated by 3 agents, the entire lineup. And I'm not talking like 3 like different booking agencies, like 3 individual booking agents. So how the hell, as like a upcoming band, or you know, someone that doesn't have connections, or someone that's not related to rock and roll royalty or anything like that, how on earth are you ever meant to go and, you know, even just get that first like slot on the shittiest stage at any festival? Because it's all interlocked, you know. It's just like you have your agents that look after your big bands, and they'll have their smaller bands, and it's just all bartering. It's just like, okay, well, you know, you want the big band, well, you got to take these 20, you know, smaller bands that I'm looking after and stuff. You know what I mean? So don't have an agent that's got
even on a smaller level though, bro. Like that last show that we just booked, it was like we went to see the guys. They're like, obviously we're from Birmingham. These guys aren't too far from where we're sort of based. And the first reaction was to when like we wanted to book a headline show was, oh, you've got to go through so and so agency, you know. And then when you sort of work it out after you have gone with them, it's almost like pointless to put on the event in the first place, you know.
Right.
It's the only industry really that I've encountered so far in my life where it's like people seem to think that you should be appreciative that you're on a stage. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And it's like, as Liam says, it does seem to be, it's like, unless you're connected with like, you know, these 2 or 3 sort of the main ballers in our sort of area, we've got no possible in at the minute, you know. So
well, it's pretty symptomatic of where the industry is right now, because I've done a lot of these interviews and talked to you know, a lot of American bands here that are well established, have had long careers, and are still in a period of their career right now where they got to be DIY. You know what I mean? And I guess me not being in the business myself, me being kind of, you know, and I'll fully admit it, being kind of naive, where like I'll do these interviews, somebody will pop up from some thrash band that I've listened to for 30 years, and I'll automatically just think, wow, this person has been on stages for years, put out all these great albums that I love. They've got to be fine. And then they're telling me that they're working a day job, and they're telling me the same fucking story that you guys are. You know what I mean? So it's a slog right now, you know, getting through the industry for, it seems like, everybody right now.
Yeah,
sure. Really hard. You know, you got all these, you know, these like these venues that are just like, you know, saying to bands like, you know, we're gonna take like what 60% of your merch revenue and stuff like that. But I'm really glad that bands are starting to talk about it and stuff, though. I'm really glad that like it's becoming more of a conversation. It's a conversation that we've wanted to have for a while, you know, ever since we really started this stuff, because you know, the stuff that you see and the stuff that you observe, the attitude of like, particularly on a local level, the attitude of so many other bands that they're like, you know, so freaked out or worried or concerned that like, you know, the third person that likes their Facebook posts after their nan and their dog is gonna be horrified at something they say. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. You know, we've dealt with so many. We've dealt with people who are like, you know, will manipulate things and lie and make stuff up, and just like, it's all virtue signaling. Like, you know, I think some of them get lost in like these nasty tendencies, you know, and it doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it good, like coming up throughout the scene. We've started just getting DJs and stuff like that, to be honest, like, because, you know, it was Ollie's idea, really, all that, just getting some DJs down and just like starting to make the gigs feel like club nights and stuff with a band playing. And I love that. When Ollie came to us with that, I was like, that's one of the best ideas going, because, you know, I love
it's tough, isn't it, bro? It's just real tough because, you know, as Liam says, it's like the grassroots seems to be really disappearing, and that's like,
agreed.
That's that's like a serious problem, you know, in my opinion. I honestly thought, because we haven't been doing this thing for a while, it's like, you know, with anything, like I sort of have some other, I don't take them necessarily too serious yet because I got other shit going on, but it's like I have other little businesses.
Right.
Of like, I have a little gardening thing, I have a little painting thing. It's like, you're
Right.
good at gardening, you go to somebody's place, do a good job at gardening, they
Yeah.
pay you, and then they book you again, you know.
Yeah.
Like, this is the only other industry where it seems to be like I either have to be like the greatest arse lick in the world,
Right.
or I need to know somebody out of the Sex Pistols or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a shame that you go do your job at the end of the night, and then you got to put some club promoter in a fucking headlock to get your money or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. We traveled to some place in like the east of East. I mean, we were nearly in the sea, weren't we, bro? Like it was like
We were
last
so east, man. We were west, wherever that was.
it was crazy. And this guy promised us like £300. It was for this like festival called Hard Rock Hell and shit, and you know, just left, right, and center. We just, you know, and it seems to be like, as I say, the attitude is, but you did play the show, and you know, the exposure, and you know, but I think it needs to be the other way around a little bit now. You know,
right.
If we weren't here doing our thing, they wouldn't have a, you know, a job or a platform to be doing this sort of shit from. You know what I'm saying?
And I mean, what do they expect? You're gonna go pay your bills with exposure? I mean, you know, people got to earn a living. You know,
but that's the thing, and you know, that I would much rather be with Liam writing songs all day every day, but I can't, because like I did that for like, you know, we did that together for like a year, and I end up like £9,000 in debt because we want to do a video, and you know, and it's just
because it's all that stuff as well. You know, it's the music videos, it's the social media content, it's the content promotion. Like my job is, you know, I run a club, so like I have to do like content creation and marketing and all that stuff, but like that's like a very regular 5 hours a day. We've got stuff planned, you know, for months on end, you know what I mean? And it's like to be able to do that in a way where you build it as a band, you'd have to be putting the same amount of time into it. You know, you'd have to be having 5 hours a day or 6 hours a day of like serious, like hardcore social media strategy, like, but you wouldn't be getting paid for that. You'd be spending shit tons of money on adverts and things like that, you know.
Right.
Oh yeah,
and then that makes us part of the fucking problem anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really, right. Like that's not the cog of the wheel that you necessarily want to be. You know what I mean? Like you kind of want to be like, you want to be the artistic part of it. But you know what? And it's funny because I was just reading an article about how easy it was in the 80s on the Sunset Strip, where just record companies were just plucking up, you know, any group of 4 guys with long hair that just, you know, I mean, had a look. And I mean, it's amazing the bands back then, that were just how easy it was to get signed. They were always looking for the next, oh, look, we found Van Halen. Now we're looking for the next Van Halen. Now we found Motley Crue. Now we're looking for the next Motley Crue. Now we found these guys. And, you know what I mean? And but back then, I mean, it seemed easy. You know what I mean? It just, you stuck up your flyer, you had shows, someone came out and saw you. Like, and especially the MTV era, that obviously when they actually played fucking videos on MTV, that was big. You know what I mean? You guys probably, you know, I feel so bad for talented bands that come around in this day and age, because in the 80s, man, you know, record companies would have been falling over themselves to get to you guys. You know, great look, great songs. You know what I mean?
Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah.
And what about videos, though? I mean, you know, how important? You know, obviously, I see a lot of young bands. They're still making videos. They're putting them up on YouTube. Is it still a real useful tool in propelling a band forward?
Oh, it's a touchy subject, man. I'll let Liam answer that.
I'm getting the feeling we got divided opinions here on videos.
Right. No, but this is the thing. I think you know, we've got to a point where we've mellowed out, and we're kind of really collectively on the same page nowadays. But but back when we started, yeah, I mean, I was like very, very into the whole like theatrical, like, you know, let's make everything as colorful and as bright and as crazy looking as possible. You know, like the first couple of videos, we had like vampires. We had a vampire one. We had one where we built a spaceship in my mom's garage out of like tin foil and bits that we just found knocking around. Which, you know, and they were great videos. They were expensive videos to make, you know, but at the time, I guess it was like, well, you know, we're not spending any money on the production of the records, so let's get the videos really good, because, you know, so much of this stuff is visual. Let's really get the visual stuff nailed, and hopefully help us build a bit of a following. And I think it definitely did its thing. Nowadays, we're kind of the opposite. We've gone more, got more into like making sure the production of the songs is as good as it can be. The videos, I mean, the past couple of videos that we've been doing, it's mainly just been like live footage and just like going to that real sort of like, I don't know, like I said to you before, like, you know, with Yikes, we are what we say on the tin, you know, and I think like now we've actually like got rid of a lot of the gimmicks and a lot of the mad camaraderie that was going on before, and it's more like, you know, about the sound and about, you know, just what we can do as four people, you know what I mean, rather than
Right.
all the crazy shit. And that doesn't mean we won't dip our toes back into all that sort of crazy shit again at some point. It just sort of depends on the mood of it, really. Like, it is whatever it is and whatever we feel like doing, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, let me ask you, Ollie, because you said that you haven't been, you know, in the fold, you know, as long. But do you find that it's, you know, first of all, do you guys feel like this is a stable lineup and everyone's kind of rowing in the same direction, so to speak? I mean, because obviously all this stuff that you're saying right now, it is difficult probably for a young band to keep the morale up and want to keep on pushing through all this shit to try to get to the, you know, the end, you know, the pot at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. Is it hard? You feel like you feel like this is a good core group right now, though, that, you know, no one wants to jump ship and say the fucking hell with this?
Yeah, no, I feel that it's a strong group. I mean, to address the point more specifically of like, you know, sort of that's the main problem, I guess, making sure that like we can keep the ship sailing.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily need to be like a rocket ship all the time.
Right.
It can just, you know, and I've been a bit guilty. As I say, like, to be honest, I've learned a lot. You know, we've traveled the country up and down. We've played a lot of shows and stuff, you know. Like, I met these boys just driving them around. I had a van at the time, you know. They advertised that they needed some shit taken somewhere, and I was just like, cool, I'll take them.
Yeah.
And their singer started letting them down or something, and they was like, can you sing? I was like, well, to be honest, I don't really fucking know, but I'll give it a good go. And yeah, I seem to adapt to it quite well. But as I say, it's tough to not fall into the whole, you know, thinking you're great because you're on stage and stuff. Like, I had to deal with that and stuff for the first year and being a bit combative with my ideas and stuff. But the main thing is, as I say, to keep the ship going for me. So it's like Liam's, it is really Liam's band, you know, like it's Liam's idea and he brings most of the work to it and I respect him, you know, and I just offer what I can offer. And as I say, and I, as long as we can all stick together to carry on, because there's like, I know every band probably says it, you know, but there's something a bit different about what we do, I think. And I think like if we can stick together, I think eventually we will get to wherever it is that we think we can get to. And it's not about like a being famous thing, it's about like four young lads that are genuinely a bit weird, sort of struggling their way, you know, through life, I guess. And and this for me would be the optimum way to do it, as you know, as the front man of a real cool band, you know, and that sounds great to me. If I can't do that, then I have to focus my attentions to somewhere else, I guess. But all we've had is pushback. Like, we've been banned from more venues because I've fucking dropped a mic stand, or I've done something a bit fucking loopy on stage, or it's like, and you know, it's only come from a place of like pure passion, and I've felt like more misunderstood in these, like, you know, in the past couple of years than I have in my entire life. But I've really meant it, you know. So it's like I've said to Liam, like, I don't care about us being famous, but if we can all stick together and keep playing shows and keep recording good music, like that, for me, that's what I want to do, you know. And if the mainstream comes to us, then the mainstream comes to us. But I don't give a fuck about, you know, being on TikTok constantly. Like, you won't really see us on TikTok. You won't see us really doing too much of, you know, other than here's a song, here's a cool video, and sort of come to the show, you know. And if that's not good enough, then we're not really there's not gonna be any pandering to any fucking you know, no gimmicks or anything like that anymore, because yeah, as Liam says, it just sort of does what it says on the tin. I'm 27, you know, the year fucking Kurt Cobain died. My mum always says to me, she's like, yes, Ollie, but Kurt Cobain was famous.
Well, you know what? That 27 club though is pretty big. I mean, you know, that's the number to get past. I feel like it's all gravy after that. You just got to get to 28. That's it. That's that's really the secret recipe. But it's funny that you brought that up about getting kicked out of the clubs and stuff, because you know, me and Liam were talking about that before you joined the conversation about how that danger and that edge it seems like they just want to push that out of rock and roll now.
Yeah, yeah. I don't understand that, because that for me is like, yeah, I mean, it's not something that's like, I assume that's like why, you know, rock and roll was what it was. That's sort of like that energy of just, you know, to be able to let go. That whole, you know, I didn't know about Iggy Pop and shit before I started this, but everybody had come up to me and be like, yo, you like Iggy Pop? And I'd be like, who the fuck's Iggy Pop? You know? And then, you know, I look into it and he's like, back in the day, that would have been like the coolest thing ever. And it's not like, to be honest, we live in a time where it's like people can fucking call themselves aliens and shit, and everybody has to pander to that. But I'm like, I'll be a bit aggressive on stage, and it's like, I'm Hitler or something. It's
Ollie breaks a microphone stand, and we got to fucking lock the poor guy up, for God's sakes. I mean, and it's not even about doing crazy shit like trashing hotel rooms or nothing. I'm just talking about, you know, during your artistic performance. You know, I mean,
during a performance, you know, literally, you know, get a bit too rowdy because, you know, I'm getting a bit too into it, and all of a sudden we're banned from a venue. They're posting, and that's the thing nowadays. It's not just they ring us and they're like, oh, you're not coming here anymore. You get slandered everywhere else now as well, you know. So it's what's the
immediate scene like where you guys are, Liam, right now? Like, are there other good young hungry bands right now with a really great sound? And do you feel like those bands, you know, that are in your neck of the woods, is there a you know, like all the guys in the Seattle grunge scene, you know, they were all kind of competing, but there was also a sense of a community there where they all watched out for each other. Is there a competitive edge amongst the other young bands in your area, or do you feel like there's a true scene there?
I think in Birmingham there's definitely some cool stuff that goes on. You've got Ace Ambrose, she's great. Our mate Adassa. The Pagans, they're great. We, you know, anytime we play a show with the Pagans, we're buzzing because they're just a great laugh, and they're an incredible band. You've got a lot of heavier bands around here as well. You got like Veridity, A Titan, a Deity. You know, bands that are really starting to just about like get somewhere and move with it. Harriet, I mean, they're doing absolutely brilliant. Yeah, particularly in the more metal side of things, that there are some pretty good bands in Birmingham, man, that are doing some good things. But yeah, in terms of like the rock thing, I think there needs to be more competition. I think there needs to be less worrying and getting stressed and getting upset and getting scared. And there needs to be more like, no, our band is fucking better than yours. You know, our band at the moment is the best fucking rock band in Birmingham. And I tell you now, I'd love it if someone actually popped up and said, nah, man, fuck you guys, you're not. Right. Because then there'd at least be like a little bit of like right, okay, we're all starting to, because, you know, to have a scene, there has to be that element of competition. You know what I mean? There has to be that effort of like, we're all working to help each other out, but we're all sort of competing because one of us wants to get somewhere. Because if you don't have that, you just got a bunch of people standing around that have no ambition. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everyone.
If people haven't come out and seen you guys live, Ollie, obviously, you know, you're up there having a grand old time and you're busting shit and having fucking fun up there. But you know, what would you say? You know, if someone was going to come and see you live, you know what I mean, and you could just kind of condense it down because, you know, you are somebody that likes to keep things, you know, you just give people a couple of terms and encapsulate it in that. Well, what would you tell them to expect if they were coming to see you guys live? You know, people are spending their hard-earned money nowadays. They're trying to come and support. I hope anyway, they're coming to try to support live music because that's where the bread's really buttered nowadays. What would you tell people? Come see Yikes because here's what we're going to deliver live.
I think the best way to can it would be, it's just real shit. There's no backing track. There's no there's nothing else helping us up there. It's just us.
First.
Yeah.
Just us sort of, you know, yeah, just, you know, honest to God, just loving every second of being on stage and just being as, just, yeah, just being fucking real, man. Whatever
Yeah.
that means. I know that's like, that can also be a gimmick. You got to watch yourself sometimes of being like, you're too far, like, you know, you can go too far the other way of what's happening or whatever. And I check myself on that, but it's like, I just feel like this is the last rock and roll band that is around right now, in my personal opinion, in terms of like something that's up and coming, in terms of like, if you want to hear some real shit and me fucking up and, you know, verses wrong in the wrong order and, you know, fuck ups and just real shit, I just think like that's really important nowadays, and that's what's missing in music, you know, is sort of the fuck ups and being okay with the fuck ups, and the dangerous, authenticity. But as I say, you got to be careful with that, because it's like you can come across a bit too like, you know, but it's real shit. I watch other bands and I see people and I just think, you just putting this on. I know obviously I can't watch my band or our band when we're doing our thing, but I just know it's for real, you know, and I think there's gonna be some pushback against that, you know. But we're just willing to stick in the game, I think, you know, that's all I can really say.
I know you mentioned Scott Weiland. Now, for you, and you know, I don't want to word it because you know, musicians seem like they get asked about that dreaded influence question all the time. But you know, as a guitar player yourself, who are other guitar players that really, you know, that you really enjoy listening to? You know, if they're playing, you know, you're there and you want to hear them.
Well, Liam's the predominant guitar player, to be honest with you, mate. So you're best asking him about that one.
Yeah, right.
Like Hendrix, Tom Morello, Matt Bellamy. Matt Bellamy was like a big deal for me growing up. You know, I just thought the shit that I was watching him do on a guitar was just like, I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I think Kurt Cobain is incredibly, you know, in the guitar world, looked down on, in terms of like a rhythm player and the actual sound that guy was able to create. I mean, that's far more important to me. Like the sound of what you're doing, the power behind what you're doing, and chaos behind what you're doing is far more important to me than if you can play a load of triplets, you know, in some sort of succession, in some sort of hectagonic scale. Like, you know, I can't be arsed with any of that, and I never have been able to be arsed with any of that. I can stand there and watch like a guitar player like Joe Satriani or Steve Vai, and I can think, you know, for about 10 minutes there, that's cool, but there's no emotion, there's no feeling, you know. Whereas when I watch like Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, and it's like everything about it, like the guitar that he's using, the way his hair's looking, the way he's moving, the way he's, you know, attacking the thing, it's like that's the real shit for me. That's like, you know, that's far more of an important thing for me, is like being able to watch someone express themselves, you know, and use the guitar extension of their body, really, rather than it being like, you know, look at me, I'm so technically intricate or anything like that, you know.
Well, you know, you know, in anticipation of talking to you guys, you know, I gave Nostalgia a listen to again last night, and some of the things that really stand out to me, and I wrote down some of the, as I listened to it, you know, sounds of other bands that I heard, you know, in this whole fusion of what you guys do, just jumped out at me. Obviously, Ali, you know, mentioned one of the obvious ones in Nirvana. Certainly hear a lot of that. So I'll speak to each band kind of individually. Nirvana for you guys. Obviously, I can hear it in the sound. A big deal, a big influence to you guys?
Yeah, of course. I guess it's just a bit niche and annoying to say so nowadays, because everybody fucking says it, you know.
I know.
But I can't walk in a room, can I, bro, without people going, it's Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, you've had that since day. You had that before you were that's like it's been your thing since day one.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he's massive though, of course, you know. He was sort of the guy, really, wasn't he, in terms of like, you know, that whole simplicity, but the complexity of the simple shit. You know, he really nailed that, man.
Yeah.
If the two pillars of influence for me that really hold this band up, like, you know, one of them is probably Kurt Cobain and the other one is probably John Lennon. I mean, like,
Okay.
that those two guys for me are like, you know, whatever we're doing is definitely like, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be happening if it weren't for those two dudes, really, I don't think.
Right.
You know?
Obviously, for me, I've got on the list here that jumped out to be STP, and now that makes more sense to me now that I know that that's an influence of Ollie's. But I could certainly hear elements of punk. You know, who's the one that gravitates to punk? Heard a lot of, like, you know, what reminded me of the Clash, Sex Pistols, obviously, you know, even to an extent, and I don't know how you boys will take this, even to an extent, a band like Green Day, which I don't consider punk necessarily, but I mean, certainly a successful band.
Yeah.
That's definitely more my end of the spectrum, man.
Yeah.
It was like the first ever album that I had as a kid and stuff, like, so that was where it all really started for me. Probably was American Idiot, and then My Chemical Romance. You know, I'm a big My Chemical Romance fan. Like Black Parade, like, again, probably the second album I ever had, and yeah, I prefer Three Cheers. I prefer the punk like sound, like the approach to that. But like with My Chemical Romance as well, obviously, like with Lost Album, we did have some help on the production side from Jeff Rickley, who's the singer in a band called Thursday, and he produced the first ever My Chem record. And he actually does guest vocals on the song Just Me on Nostalgia. We got chatting to him at a gig. We got chatting at Taking Back Sunday gig a few years ago, and we kept in touch. When we sent him over the record, he thought it was really cool. So yeah, he did some sort of production alongside with us, like production advisory, I guess. And then Ollie said, "Do you want to sing on this tune?" Because he really liked it, and he was just like, "Yeah, cool." Like, a really cool dude, like really nice bloke, man.
Well, I really hear the punk fierceness on like a great example I wrote down was Jukebox Martyr. But then when I listened to the song General Practice, all I kept hearing was Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of. Yeah, I don't know if it's deliberate. Only you guys can really expound on that. But throwing them out there, any kind of influence there?
Yeah, 1,000,000%, man. We love Smashing Pumpkins, man.
Yeah,
we do. They're just not an obvious one, are they, to roll off the tongue? But like, as soon as you mention them, it's like, yeah, me and Liam could sit down with you and talk about them for hours, like Smashing Pumpkins for sure. Also, bands like the Pixies and shit as well. You know, fucking.
So when you are a young band right now, though, how do you navigate the waters? Because I talked to a lot of musicians on here, and nobody seems to have a definitive answer. But like, you know, everybody just kind of seems like they're walking through a minefield, hoping that they're stepping in the right place. You know, do we put out an album? Does anybody give a fuck if we put out an LP? Should we do an EP? Should we be releasing singles? Nobody seems to be able to navigate through the industry. Is there a right answer, or have you guys had a sat down and talked about, geez, do we want to just keep? Obviously, it seems like a lot of artists go the singles route because, you know, and I've talked about this on here before, people's attention span just seems to have dwindled. You kind of want to keep your name on people's mind. People are, you know, every 4-6 weeks or whatever, they're throwing out singles. Do you guys have a format that you want to go? Do you like the EP? Do you like the LP? Do you like the singles?
The only thing is man, I guess the singles route is sort of the standard at the minute, and I get that.
It is.
The only thing that sort of pisses us off, or seems to have pissed us off, is like, if you go in and record it that way, rather than dropping it as an album, you sort of then stuck to them songs then for however long it takes for you then to you know, release those songs, which is like, I guess it is correct from an industry standpoint, but once again, I just feel like that really, like, that sucked a lot of the life out of us to just be like, okay, we've got nothing else to really do other than just like promote these songs for like the next year and however long, you know what I mean? It just seemed to be like, it seems like a lot of excuses, you know. I mean, my thing would be, you know, if there was any key to anything, it's just like sticking together as a band and like really trying to be like, there comes a point where every band wants to be the best band in the world, you know, but you need to figure out how to earn a few quid as doing what you do as lads together, you know.
Right.
I think that's, you know, that's the only way you can really sort of look at it. I mean, other than other than that, I mean, I don't really have any answers, man. But yeah, I mean, the single route's cool, I guess, but I just think that keeps you locked into sort of, you know.
I agree with you. I agree with you. So as a young band, what is the factor or the event that can happen in your guys' career that you think is the catapult? Is it landing a song that connects and resonates with people? Is it getting on a big tour? Is it making it over here in the States? Like, what is it for like a young band right now? Like, what's the goal? Like, if someone could just spin that wheel and it could land on that one thing you'd want to happen for you guys, you know what I mean? What would it be?
I think we've probably got more chance of like making it over in the States, if I'm brutally honest with you. I think whenever we speak to anyone from America, they always seem to understand what we're doing a hell of a lot more than a lot of people around here do.
Yeah.
I think, I've always said this since day one, like with the way that the everything is at the moment, the Spotify playlist thing is really important. We've been lucky enough to land one of them that coincided with a tour that we did, where we supported a band and we were playing to like what 300.
How many streams has that got though, bro? Now God mode.
God mode now has 160,000 streams, which is like, by far our most streamed thing. But again, it was a song we didn't like. I mean, we love that song, and we're really glad that that's become the song. It wasn't the one that we thought was going to be the song. We thought stuff we recorded was a lot stronger. That's why we actually put that one out first, because we were like, oh, we don't really know people that are going to respond to this, and there's other songs that we're just more excited about, and then we drop it. We do this little quirky, you asked earlier about music videos and the importance of them. We just filmed ourselves on tour. We got our mate Tom, who's a legend, to just like film a load of tour footage of us, playing, and then we edited it together. And then we just dropped it, and it was like, oh god, suddenly we're in like 6-7 like major Spotify playlists, and like it all just started happening, But then we released 2 songs that we thought were a hell of a lot stronger, and like they didn't get listed, and they didn't get the same sort of like, obviously the fans love them, but they just didn't, get that same sort of support from Spotify. So it's like there's no regularity in any of that. Like that's just like throwing something into the wind, and maybe someone catches it. You know what I mean? These guys over at Spotify, I'm sure they have a hell of a lot of music to get through that they need to listen to. So, but then again, it's like finding an agent, all that sort of thing. And it's like, even though those things are really important, it's like, how much can you keep prioritizing that stuff? Because if in an ideal world, we were saying this earlier, in an ideal world for us, our release strategy would just be like the Beatles release strategy. Okay, we're like what 26, 27 at the moment. Between us. Cool. All right. Between now and when we're 37, we're going to release 12 albums, and do their thing. I mean that'd be my career plan. So many songs. There's so much stuff we've already got written. There's so many songs that we're gonna write. There's so many Rob, our bassist. He's been writing some absolute gems and stuff. And if he got more involved, he'd be like a proper George Harrison sort of figure to be having around in this situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, it's like, it is so hard, particularly that singles route thing. We recorded a lot of songs, quite a bit back now, and it's like we're still having to like do the video process, and because with the Spotify thing, it's like they want you to send everything as singles. If we were to have just released it all as an album, we could have only pitched one song off the album to be playlisted.
Right.
It's tough to even recoup your losses of going into the studio, like,
obviously
nobody really buys the CDs unless you book in the shows,
right.
Unless you're on the right tours, and unless and it's just that's the thing. It's like, to look at it from a real business standpoint is actually quite confusing sometimes, and not something really I guess you look at as like a musician and stuff, which is, I feel, where you're actually taken advantage of, because it's like they understand that you're a bit, they understand that you're a bit not behind the door. Behind the doors, maybe behind the curtains, the right thing to say. They know you can be taken advantage of a little bit because you love doing what you do and you're passionate about, what you
prey on
do.
that. Yeah,
they do. It's the most uncool slug-like people that seem to have all the dough in the game at the minute. So
you were the last one in the band, Ollie?
Yeah. As I say, I mean, I was just doing a bit of driving around for the guys, and it just so happened that I just ended up becoming the singer, I guess.
So as you somebody kind of quote unquote learning on the fly here to do this. You know, what went through your mind when you first stepped up to that microphone, or even more so, even first stepped out onto a stage? I mean, did this come naturally to you? Is this something that you really had to dig deep? Did you have to find this persona inside of you, or are you just one of those born frontmen like myself? I'm kidding about the myself part. I'm kidding about the myself part, but is that it? You're just a born frontman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that true, Liam? Is he a
I'll
born
answer.
frontman?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
I always knew I'd do a bit of this someday. I was,
Yeah.
God spoke to me one day. You know, He said,
Yeah.
one day, my child.
How do I get the drugs you guys are on? I want God to speak to me over here. I'm hitting this vape pen over here, man. Nobody's speaking to me. I don't hear anything.
The devil's talking to you when you're smoking them.
Is that what it is?
I don't know, man. Possibly.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you are on camera as well, smoking an unidentified object as well.
Yes.
And truthfully, so was Liam.
Yes.
Trying to be sneaky and turn his camera off. I don't know what was going on over there when he was. So if you guys were to make it, let's say in the States, you know, when you guys are across the pond and have, obviously that's a long reach. How do you go about doing that?
Mark? Would you put us up? We'll come tomorrow, man. Will you put us up?
Of course. Yeah. I'll go out and let the old lady know, man.
I think you guys would dig us, man. I think honestly, America would dig us. Like,
and Liam mentioned that a couple minutes ago, and I wholeheartedly agree. And it's not anything to impugn or degrade, you know, the English rock fans by any means. You could certainly make the claim that England has given us all of our great rock bands. I mean, you know, everybody up at the top of the legends list of rock bands is from across the pond. I mean, you know, America here, you know, we have some, but I mean, we certainly don't have the magnitude that you guys have given us. I mean, you know, we don't have the Beatles, the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. I mean, you got the Who. You guys have given us fucking all the legends have come from you guys. But what would making it in the States look like, and how do you reach us? Is it through music? Is it through videos? Is it through social media? And who makes those decisions? Who's really doing like the business side of it? I know you mentioned that it's Liam's quote unquote band.
Well, yeah, I guess that's all quite collective, I guess, to some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, go on though, Liam. You probably answer this.
So we're basically waiting on Liam to get off his ass and get you guys famous. Then come on, Liam, step it up a little here.
I mean, we've all got like a well-rounded understanding of, like, you know, as Ollie says, of how these things work and operate. I think for us in our situation, really, if we wanted to do anything in the States, it'd have to be a real. I mean, obviously, like it'd have to be like a real sort of heavy set, sort of like social media targeted thing, you know. And this is where I have to like look into, you know, my more promotional brain and think, okay, well, you know, that would probably require having to do certain things that we don't like doing, like certain types of advertisements, certain types of, you know, social media content, which, you know, it's not stuff that we're into. But, you know, I mean, I made one for work, like a TikTok video, and it got like 4.4 million views in like 5 days. And I was like, shit, man, I wish like I'd put that out for the band, because that had been 4.4 million people that, you know, that wouldn't then know us, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, and obviously, like when you're doing it for a job or whatever, it's just fun because you're doing it for somebody else's brand and you're being paid to do it. But when you're doing it for your own thing and you want to retain that authenticity and you want to, you know, not become some sort of, you know, pantomime or caricature, or gimmick or whatever you want to call it, that is where it becomes a little bit tricky. But I think to actually get us to a level like on a mass scale where we'd be able to do something in the States, real targeted ads, man. I mean, it'd have to be like hardcore, like really going through like, okay, where in the States are like the 20 places that, you know, and you can find this data on Spotify pretty easy. Like, you know, where are the 20 places that stream the sort of music that we make? So all the that we love, where are the 20 places in the States that are streaming that music, right? Okay, so say if like one of them's like Chicago, one of them's like, you know, Boston, whatever, you know what I mean? And just like really zoom in right into like major sort of areas that are listening to that sort of stuff. Run a heavy ass ad campaign, spend a few quid, and then And then, yeah, if you start building up traction in those areas and people are fucking listening to you, then I guess it's just a case of like making the plunge of getting on a fucking plane and going over there and going to venues and causing a bit of ruckus and seeing what happens. You know what I'm saying? You know.
But as me not being somebody who works in the business, though, you know, how much clout do guys who have really made it in the business have in terms of who they can go take out on tour with them? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you know, I imagine, like, wouldn't a big trade-off be somebody huge seeing what you like, and all of a sudden, like, a Dave Grohl picks up the phone and says, geez, I'd love to fucking take you guys out. You know what I mean? Or, you know, or as you mentioned, a Radiohead, you know what I mean? Tom from Radiohead calls you guys. I mean, you know, obviously that would be like hitting the fucking lottery right there. But, you know, do guys have that kind of clout, though? Because I've always wondered how they put these, you know, these massive bills together. You know what I mean? Like, and do the artists have any say? Or is this just all upper management and label guys just smashing bands together, you know, because it's good business?
I think it's a bit of a mix of both. I think when it comes down to like going on tour with like a bigger band, that there has to be the thing of like the label or the agent approves, you know, for whatever reason they want, you know, this band to go on tour with this band. Okay, there'll be a reason why the agent or the label wants them to do that. But I also think the band have a personal say in it as well, where it's like, okay, well, you know, actually we really, really want to take these guys on the road, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But like, again, it's like we know loads of people in bands, we know loads of people in bands that we've played shows with and stuff like that. But obviously, you know, one of them announces that they're doing a tour, they're completely inundated with messages, they're completely inundated with people messaging. And it's the same with us, to be honest. Like if we're gonna go on a tour, you know, we're not going to be sat there probably taking submissions from 100 bands and combing through them, because we just, you know, bell up the Pagans or bell up Ace Ambrose and say, listen, we're going on a tour, come with us, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, but then if we had an agent, like they'd probably turn around and say, don't take them on the road with you, we want you to take these guys for whatever reason, you know what I'm saying? So but unless there's like a connection with the band or with the agent or whatever, very, very hard to land something like that. Like,
but just to throw it out there, though, Dave Grohl and Tom York or anybody else, the boys are answering their phone, though, if you'd like to call. You know, feel free. The guys are ready, man. They got their bags packed and they're ready to go, right? We're ready to jump on a big tour if need be.
They're ready to get banned from some venues, man.
And if we swing through the upstate New York area, man, we'll be stopping at my house, and you know, we'll be having a good time. You know, we'll be doing some things that may or may not be you know, frowned upon. But true or false, though, everything is still frowned upon over there, correct? I mean, you guys don't. You know, are you guys getting more liberal as far as like? Because obviously here in the States, it's no secret that our marijuana laws are getting much looser over here. If that's your thing, not saying I'm not implying anything here, fellas. I'll be totally honest. I just saw stuff being smoked. That's all.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I've smoked since like every day since I was 18. It's something I'm really into, to be honest. But it's like the scene over here is massive. It's almost as big as it is anywhere else. It's just not legal, but you can get everything here. You know, all of the California shit. It's actually mostly California shit that's here nowadays, more than like English grown, you know, cheese and etc. It's
well, like, I will say that I'm more of an analog smoker. I like the green more than these pens, but they do afford a nice luxury when you're sitting here, and you know, because I mean, you know, if I was smoking actual weed in the house, man, I'd probably be looking for a new place to live and or in divorce court. So I mean, you know, the pen affords me a nice luxury to be able to sit here and not have to go outside.
Yeah, of course. No, I totally understand. I appreciate all of the methods of consumption of that stuff. I think it's great. As I say, it's not for everyone, that stuff, but it's like, you know, for certain people, it's a hot, you know, it's a day ruiner and it'll stop you from doing your shit. But it's never really been that for me. It's always been like,
it's been a bit of a weight ruiner.
Yeah. To be honest, it's just, I won't even go into it that deep. It's just something I genuinely enjoy doing. You know, I don't really drink that too often. You know, if I go out and I'm with the boys, if we're on tour, it gets a bit messy and stuff. But like, it's not my thing on a day to day. You know, I've done some shitty shit in the past. You know, and been addicted to some things I shouldn't be addicted to. You know, but other than that, really, the weed for me is sort of, I don't see that as an addiction. I see that as more of in fact something I'm quite passionate about, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I really do hope that the laws are really loosened on that over here at some stage too. It would be great, you know. And it would earn our country a lot of money at the minute, because we're absolutely fucked in that department. That's for sure. Like, there's old women that can't put the heating on and stuff at the minute.
Sad.
You know, in like, you know, the nicest houses that you've seen and stuff. It's just fucking. It's fucked. In all honesty, there's just nothing going on here. In all honesty, nothing.
So we've all put our heads together here. How the fuck do we get Yikes to fucking have some world domination here? Let's plot it, guys. How do we fucking take over? This is bullshit.
There's a few things we could do, man. No, for sure, man. But I just think longevity. I think soon enough, I think we keep doing our thing, you know. And as Liam says, there's some shit that we can do, you know. Like this TikTok thing, we're eventually going to have to get serious about, because it does seem to be the thing that's like, you know, where the eyes are. You know, it's not even like the labels are looking at the tunes anymore. It's like, okay, so how many views did they get on that, or how many, you know, how much interaction do they have on this post, or blah de blah, you know. So if we were really gun-ho and, you know, about we need to get into there, that's sort of what we've got to do. And inevitably what we're gonna have to bite the bullet, you know. But it's, you know, I'm sort of I've always been from that perspective of, you know, we're too cool or whatever to get involved, but we'll inevitably have to, I guess, you know, if we want to be out there, you know. So it's just one of them things.
I'm curious, Liam, because over here in the States, we are extremely, and I don't know how it is over there for you guys, extremely genre happy. Everything seems to have to fit into a nice little box. It can't be metal, because then if something's metal, then there's got to be 800 subdivisions of metal. You know what I mean? And then, you know, you can't just be alternative. Then you've got to be alt, you know, you've got to be garage rock. You've got to be this. Do you guys consider yourselves in a specific genre? Or do you not want to be bound by shit like that? Because most of the guys that I ask about that, they just want to be known as a rock band.
Yeah, like I think as long as it's all under that umbrella, like listen, we make songs that have guitars in them, and you know, some of them are loud and some of them aren't as loud, and some of them are a bit funky and some of them aren't, and you know, I think that's all there is to it now, you know, because our influence spectrum's so wide. You know, going back to the Beatles, you know, that you listen to Revolver. Okay, you got Taxman's the first song, you know, into Eleanor Rigby, which is like a baroque pop sort of thing, into John Lennon talking about needing a nap, you know, I'm only sleeping, which is, you know, Dylan-esque and acoustic-y. And then you got Ringo Starr singing a nursery rhyme about a yellow submarine. You know, to me, like, that is the beauty of all of it, really, is the idea that, you know, we can kind of do whatever the hell we want, and it doesn't really matter if it doesn't sort of like if the Beatles did something 60 years ago or whatever, and it, you know, it was accepted by society then, like, you know, I don't understand why it's so radical now when people do similar things, you know what I mean? Like, you know, everyone freaks out about someone like MGK. Oh god, they were doing rap and now they're doing pop punk. It's like, well, you know, the Beatles were around today, they'd have like your first song would be a rap song, your second song would be a pop punk song, your third would be you know, a classical piece of music or whatever, you know, and that's why they were the best band that's ever fucking existed, man. So yeah, for me, like, you know, I say all that, I'm a lot less experimental than the rest of the lads, to be fair to you. I'm very like straight down the line, like, you know, this is a rock song sort of thing. Every now and then I tamper some synthesizers or a bit of ambience or whatever, but Ollie will come in and play stuff and it's like real soundscapey and really thought through and really like, you know, just powerful sounding shit, man, which is like, you know, Ollie's got this one song called Manson, and Manson was a tune, man. I just remembered that song. It was an absolute belter. That riff and like the sounds that were going on in that song were just fucking awesome, you know what I mean?
Who are we paying homage to there, Ollie, in your sick twisted mind? Is this Charles Manson or Marilyn Manson?
No, Charlie's at the start of the song.
Okay. Fair enough. You know what? My biggest regret is, man, is you know, and I started doing this, just to give you a little background. I started doing this podcasting thing. I had a couple of detached retina surgeries on my eyes last year, and I just started doing this out of the clear blue because I had downtime. And my biggest regret is I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of guys on here with long careers who have been kind enough to come on and grace me with their presence and grant me interviews or whatever. But when I have bands like you guys on that are up and coming, these are the times when I wish I had thousands of subscribers and got millions of fucking views so I could deliver for you guys. I'm trying, guys. I really am trying, but
No,
you know,
we appreciate it, man. Thank you
it's
so
a
much
lot
for
like the
being
music
there,
business. I'm slogging through it, and you know, I'm talking to my son every night. Hey, how many subscribers am I up to? All my, you know, he's better at breaking down like the you know, all of the you know, you know, all the bullshit. You know what I mean?
All of that
Crunching the
shit, yeah.
numbers. You know, but it has been going well, man. But it just, I would love to see bands like you guys just get catapulted, because I feel like when you're in your own little corner of the world, man, you know, it's music that should be heard, you know, by a lot more people, and it seems to be a frustrating time in the music industry right now, because that used to be something that could just happen with the snap of a finger, and now it's not so easy.
Yeah.
I think what we have to do is we have to either kidnap a fucking record company guy and hold him for ransom, or I don't know what the hell we do, guys.
What was that film? What was that film where they did that? It had the dude from The Mummy in, and it was Adam Sandler as well, wasn't it? They held up the that radio station to get their song played.
Airheads.
That was the one. That was
Yeah,
the one.
yeah,
We
yeah.
should do something like that, yeah.
Which is crazy, because Brendan Fraser's in that movie and he just won a fucking Oscar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
that film is supposed to be pretty intense, isn't it? I haven't seen it. It's supposed to be great though.
Well, I'd like to ask, you know, because you know, you guys certainly have very diverse taste, and are very opinionated about your musical taste. I like to ask I'd like to ask what each one of you has for a dip. Dip is the deserted island platter. What's the album you're bringing to the deserted island? You only got one to listen to fucking forever.
That's really hard, man.
I know, it's meant to be hard.
Only one.
I'm gonna have to make you rock guys think a little here. Come on, boys. What do we get too fried over there?
No, I could get, yeah, I can give you one. I can give you one.
Okay.
And it probably it is gonna be Stone Temple Pilots.
Okay.
And it does hurt my soul to say that, but it would be Tiny Music from the Vatican gift shop. That's my favorite. It's just, I just think the sound of it, I just think, and everything he's talking about at that time, I just I think that is honestly the best album.
You could find yourself happily walking around a deserted island, you know, eating leaves and fucking and clad in a loincloth that you made yourself. And as long as you had that album, you'd be fine.
I'd be good at, I'd just be there doing, you know, I'd be dancing like Scott Weiland with some coconuts. But it's just, it's track one for me. It's that little jazz interlude that they've got that sort of rolls into, you know, into track two and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's just it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I could have said the Beatles, I could have said Nirvana, anything from them. I could have said even Alice in Chains. I haven't mentioned Lane Staley.
My all-time favorite vocalist. And a very interesting, I started actually emailing with his mom years ago, and we've kept up somewhat of a good email relationship.
Oh, that's really cool, man.
You know, cool. I mean, she does a lot of great work out in Seattle. Still, a big shout out to Nancy, Lane's mom. She does a lot of great work out there with you know, people obviously suffering from addiction, which is ultimately what got Lane in the end. But yeah, I mean, she's really active and really passionate about it, and obviously for good reason. I mean, it's certainly never easy to lose a child. I think this is going to be a tougher answer for you, though. But yeah, Alice in Chains is always the right answer for me, because Lane Staley, with all due respect to the parties that are here, Ollie, I think you're well on your way. But let's not put you in Lane Staley category yet, okay?
Have you noticed how like all of the people I like are dead?
I know. I think that all the time. I think that all the time too, because for me, as much as I've always been a rock and metal guy, but you know, growing up in a neighborhood that was all other guys that were like rock and metal fans and had that look, and you know what I mean, you didn't want to be the dreaded poser and be listening to anything else but what you were supposed to be listening to. But we all seem to give each other a free pass on Prince, who's always been my favorite artist of all time.
I love Prince.
Yeah, I've got a mural that I insisted that I make up after he died of magazine pictures that I cut up, and I framed it, and I consider it art. It's hanging right outside this fucking door, for God's sake. A collage to Prince. I mean, just for me, it's like he's here. I mean, everyone else is here, and he's just way up here.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
A genius. A genius the likes of I don't think we'll ever see. And I've gone on and Googled, you know, who's the heir to the throne for Prince, just to see what people are blogging about in their opinion, and just to hear people throw out people that aren't even as active. Like Prince and his career put out 39 fucking albums, which that's a prolific amount of albums. And then you got people saying, oh, Bruno Mars or this guy or that guy. All due respect to those guys, but they're not punching out the creativity in the music like Prince was.
No.
Yeah.
Not
Okay,
at all,
that guy
man.
was just in a different stratosphere. Okay, well, I want to hear the Deserted Island album. This is going to tear at Liam, I think, a little hard.
I want to hear it too. I want to hear it too, actually.
I'd probably have to go with Ziggy Stardust, man.
Okay.
Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. I
Yeah,
mean,
we haven't spoke about Bowie, have we?
no.
And I think Bowie would be very proud that you'd be on a deserted island walking around in a loincloth, because that's probably a look he probably would have dug, you know?
Mate, he'd have loved that look. Yeah, no, just 5 years is just the best start to an album I've ever heard. You know, you got Rock and Roll Suicide on there. You got Soul Love is a fucking beautiful song. Obviously, Starman, Lady Stardust. I mean, it's just class, absolutely class. Like my favorite concept record I think that's ever been made, and just the look and the feel of Bowie at that time period was it was just incredible, really. So,
and hopefully maybe we can get you guys deserted islands that aren't too far from each other, and you can just put these albums in in some bottles and just kind of send them back and forth to each other. That would work, right? And to tell you the truth, Ali, the more that I look and at you, I would say don't do the DNA testing to be Kurt Cobain's son. Do it more for a Jerry. I think there's more of a Jerry Cantrell there. I don't know. You might have a claim to the Jerry Cantrell fortune. I don't know. You might want to look into, if Jerry swept through town and anything went down, because you might be able to stake a claim here. I'm trying to convince my mother that she slept with David Lee Roth. I just want a little bit of that. I just want a little bit of that Panama money. That's all. I'm not asking for much.
No, you're not asking for much at all. No.
And I think I'm a dead ringer. I mean, come on.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Well, DNA testing is in the work, boys. Fingers crossed. That's all. And then. If I do inherit the mother load, I'm funding the tour, guys. I'm funding it. I don't give a fuck, man. We don't need to wait for Dave Grohl to call, or Tom York, or whoever the hell we're waiting on to call that you boys could go out with, man. But listen, in all seriousness, man, I consider, and I'll say it to my audience right now, who is limited but growing. That's what I like to say. Limited and growing. That I consider this Nostalgia album a fucking goddamn masterpiece. How do you like that, Ali?
Thank you so much, man.
It really is. It really is. It's just such an interesting album to me. Like just where you guys went, and I've also seen in some interviews, and it's really tough to find a lot of stuff about you guys when I was coming up with bullet points and stuff to talk to you guys about, though. But do I detect any kind of influence in there of anything from any glam bands at all?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely. I mean, more I guess at the start. When we first sort of started doing our thing together, there was definitely a lot of a glam thing going on, and I think that was more coming from the perspective of just to be as colorful and as just to look good in a picture, I guess, at the start, was just to be as just as provocative as possible from the start, I guess. So we drew some influences, and Liam sort of hit the nail on the head with that one, with the Bowie thing, so we sort of drew on a lot of that. And I guess you mentioned sort of the Motley Crue sort of thing as well, sort of a bit more of a colorful version of that, I guess, was what we were going for.
I'm very excited. I'm going to see him for time number 5 here in August, and first time I'll be seeing them with John 5 has now replaced Mick Mars.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, I will be eager to see. Yeah, I will be eager to see how they sound, and hopefully, just a shout out to Vince Neil. I mean, please lay off the cheeseburgers, for a little while. We want an in shape Vince Neil, for God's sake, man.
When you're that cool of a dude, why would you want to do that anyway? You want to be on some kind of form, but we don't want to take the piss out of him too much, I guess.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we certainly don't want to do that. But you guys mentioned something earlier about getting up there live and like not having backing tracks and all this stuff, which obviously famously on YouTube, some of these bands have really been crucified for. Motley Crue being one of them, Kiss, some of these other bands, piping in stuff, to accentuate the sound. And I know you guys said that you don't do it, but when these bands reach a certain status in their career, do you give them a free pass and say, you know, I'm going to see a performance, but I might not necessarily see them the way I saw them in the 70s or the 80s. Do you give them a pass and say it's okay if they need to use some tools to kind of punch up the sound a little bit?
Yeah, of course. No, of course.
Yeah.
I guess that's just, yeah, they're probably just coming out for a few quid at that point, aren't they? And everyone's just, you know, everyone's happy to see them. So it's just, yeah, it was like the Aussie thing. I mean, it's a bit debatable how you feel about that, but I feel like he was probably dragged up there for a couple years longer than he should have been anyway, you know.
Yeah.
But with guys like that, you know, obviously, yeah, of course, man, you've just got to let them whatever they need to do to do the performance. I think a lot of what Ozzy was doing towards the end was probably a lot of backing track vocal stuff, and you know. But yeah, of course, you've got to let those guys do their thing, because they did a lot for the game, you know, coming up and stuff, you know.
Well, and the thing that scares me to read though, and you know, is to read about us having to see you know, a shell of who these former, you know, a shell of the former people that these were, because now I'm hearing talks about, you know, Ozzy might trek out again. And do we want to see Ozzy out there in a wheelchair at the microphone stand? That isn't the last memory that we want, you know.
But that's the thing, isn't it? It's just that then it's more, well, you know, yeah, who's really, is it him that really wants to go out there? Is it more, you know,
Yeah,
it's a weird one with, especially with Ozzy, I guess. There's a rabbit hole you can go down with that, isn't there? You know, so
yeah.
But with these bands as well, and these old sort of the old school stars, I guess they, you know, unless they're going out on tour, it's a money thing, isn't it? After a while, you know, and
I think so.
With somebody like Ozzy, he's just such a big pull, isn't he? I guess where
There
if
he
you
is.
book anything with him involved, it's a big pull, isn't it? Which is worrying, because as you say, if he's being dragged out in a fucking wheelchair that looks like the devil or something, people might think it's cool, but on one level, it's like, you know, he's being fucking wheelchaired out now. Can we give the guy a break? You know?
I know. And Liam, I'm glad you were able to jump back in. It was getting to be too much listening to Ollie just run you down constantly. So I'm glad you're back in here to defend yourself now, man. I mean, all I had to hear was he's carrying the band. If I could cut this Liam loose. I mean, you know, you know, but I was talking to him earlier about, and you could probably even speak to this even more, you know, actually being a guitar player and plugging in an instrument and not taking away from anything from the front men. I mean, you know, but, you know, do you give these legendary bands that are getting caught using all this backing shit, you know, do you give them a pass because of their legendary status, or should they be giving us the real deal? I mean,
hard, man. The whole backing track thing nowadays, so many fans are using it.
yeah.
So you end up in these situations where, like, half the time it's not even the band that are pushing for it. It'll be, you know, the powers that be being like, you know, you're going to play Wembley Stadium. We want the sound to be at a certain level. I guess if you're like an older guy or whatever, like, you know, you're not going to have the same energy and the same drive as you did originally.
You're telling me.
Like, it cuts costs and stuff. But I don't know. Depends on the band, really. Sorry, I made a mistake of eating a caramel sweet, and it's like really like got on my teeth.
Yeah, listen, man, do you, man? I don't edit anything on here, man. First of all, I'm 50 years old. I don't know how. I'm lucky I even know how to get this up and running. I mean, you know, the fact that I'm podcasting really is proof out there, kids, that anybody can do anything. I mean, you know, I know how to open up the thing and turn it on. That's about it. I mean, it's frustrating though, man, and I hope you guys really do stay the course, because you are young, and I do believe you have music and a sound that needs to be heard. I do agree with both of you how much more I think you would be, even without knowing the English scene over there. You know, I certainly believe, you know, that you would be very well received and embraced over here in the States. But how much of it comes down to just being able to not do certain things? Obviously, funding a tour, as you said earlier, coming over here. A lot of it, if you don't get that ancillary help, ends up being on your own dime. Is it something that you guys are in a position to do, or do you need someone to really reach out to you guys? You know, I don't know your financial, you know, positions, or your, you know, what you guys do as, you know, for work, and, you know, how much freedom that you guys have to move about in your lives. But, you know, how much help would a band like YIKES need to really be pushed to the next level?
To really go up a rung in the ladder, I mean, it would definitely require. I don't even think it's so much a money thing, to be honest. I think it's more of a connection thing. You know what I mean? I think like we're definitely in a position where we can make incredibly recorded music. We can make videos relatively cheap. Social media spend is like, you know, that's a really hard one. You know, that's something I'd prefer an investor in more than anything. You know, investing as a band collectively, I don't think we've ever been too bothered about investing in things like the music, or investing in, you know, anything that involves the product, you know what I mean, or the final thing, like, you know, the artistic, the creative, whatever. Like, I think that stuff we're all like here to invest in as an independent band. But when it's like, okay, you know, but in order to reach this amount of people, it's going to cost like, you know, $5,000 social media budget, then it's suddenly like, oh well, then you're gambling a little bit, because, you know, who's to know if that's actually going to work, or
right,
you know, if that's gonna, you need like experts involved in that stuff, you know what I mean? You need people there like that understand, you know, tried and tested ways of connecting that sort of music to your target audience. It's like, it's either that, or you go and just do something crazy guerrilla for free and just like make sure you're on the news the next day, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like
yeah, make sure you're in the news, not in jail though. That's the important part right there. You know, you want to end up in the right place at the end of it all. So what's next for you guys? You guys have put out some singles, I think, since Nostalgia, right? But is there will it continue to be singles, or will you guys put together another actual EP/LP of any kind, or are you just going to keep with the singles? Ollie?
Yeah, man. Well, we've got like we went into the studio, and as I say, we recorded 13 tracks that were supposed to be an album.
Okay.
But we did that whole the single release thing, which turned into something we ended up getting really bored of. So to stop us getting bored, we've essentially tried to turn that into like 3 EPs. So these singles are going to turn into what are going to become 3 EPs out of this collection of songs that were going to be an album. But what we are, I think, from the last time we spoke, bro, I think the aim is to pretty much just bite the bullet now and just start dropping albums and doing it sort of, you know, do it properly,
I think like when, you know, whenever we've considered that before, it's been like, okay, well, you know, you release an album, there are ways around it. You know, you could drop like 3 or 4 singles off the album, and then, you know, drip like it's called like a waterfall, and you could waterfall that into, okay, well then the 4th single is like the last one, and then that's the one that you use the pitching form from the album for, you know, because so much of this stuff revolves around like playlist pitching and stuff like that nowadays.
Right.
That's such an integral part of the release strategy. Unfortunately, it just is. But you know, if there was I think before, like, you know, we used to get quite worried about the fact of like, okay, you know, well, what if we just release like, you know, an album and you know, then suddenly it's like we've got all the pressure to like have to write more songs. But the amount of songs we've got at this point, I mean, we could record 10 albums now, you know.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, like seriously, like the amount of music we've got just sitting around. But you know, I like that idea. I like the idea of being like, cool, let's go and do our Rubber Soul, and then let's go and do our Revolver, and then let's go and do our Sergeant Pepper, and let's just, you know, keep doing that until we're 40, and then, you know, hopefully it'll all paid off by then. You know what I mean?
And by the way, guys, at the expense of sounding stupid on my own show, the word I was looking for before was analytics. I was looking at the analytics of my YouTube channel. That was the word. I knew that it would come to me, and you know, I certainly can't be looking fucking stupid on here. I mean, Jesus Christ, I have to go check this information out. I mean, you know. I mean, listen, I'm looking at the timer here, a fucking hour and a half. You guys just won't shut up, for God's sake. No, seriously, this has easily been, you know, I've done I think I'm up to like episode 80 that I've got released. This has been one of the ones I really enjoyed the most, though. It's been a blast talking to you guys, man. It really has.
You too, man.
I'm gonna say that to all the girls.
I do. Yeah, I do. Well, you know. As long as my wife's not within earshot. I mean, you know, I'm a married guy here, Oli. You're going to, well, I don't know if you'll know what that's like someday, but if you do, you will realize, man, that right now my balls are out in her purse right now. Yeah. You're not with me.
I respect that.
Listen, you have to. You have to.
Thank you.
I put my years in, man. 25 years come this September.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. 3 kids, 6 grandkids. I mean, and look at me, still a fucking rock star.
Good man. Good man.
Although I have to say that, although I will confess, because I like you guys a lot, I'm trying to obviously pitch the whole David Lee Roth DNA testing, but the hair actually does come off.
Does it come up?
I'm a nurse, for God's sake. I can't go to work looking like this. I was talking with Ollie this morning on my ride to fucking work. You know what I mean? Like, he's 4 hours later than me, but
Yeah, you what?
yeah,
6:30 in the morning.
6:30 in the morning. I was slogging down to go do my nursing duties. You know, I mean, that's the grind. So I understand it, man. Yeah, but listen, it was a real blast talking to you guys, man. Thank you so much for doing this, man. And I look forward to whatever the fuck's coming from you guys next. And if I can't find people that are going to agree with my opinion about loving you guys, I'm just going to beat it into them. Okay, I'm not above a little violence. I mean,
that's the sort of energy we need, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, listen, man, if you guys come and make it to the States, don't forget the little people, dude. I'll work for you guys in any capacity. You need some security, you need some, someone to go out and corral up some chicks, go score some blow. No, I'm just kidding. I won't do that. But
we'll be in your kitchen eating toast in about 2 years, mate.
Listen, I look forward to it, man. I do, man. I do. I'll have the guest bed ready, man. I don't know if you guys will all be able to fit into it, but I'll put you guys in various places around the house. Don't worry. We'll take care of all that. It was really fun talking to you guys. Seriously, Ollie, Liam, thanks so much, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. All right.
And when I'm going to go to posting this episode, I'll send you guys the link. Share it around, man. Help a brother out on this end over here.
Of course.
Yeah. Have your people help my people,
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
I appreciate you guys, though, man. Thanks so much for doing this, man. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Man. Thank you so
much.
much.
Man. Salutes, guys. Talk to you guys soon, man. Thank you.
Later, dude.
All right, later, guys. And there they go. Those are the boys from a band that I have fallen in love with. Not those guys. I'm not in love with them. But Yikes. Yikes is the name of the band. YIKES. Those guys are from across the pond. I got myself a little excited there. Gee, Keith, come on. Reel me in here, buddy, please. Keith is a Yikes fan, too. He's actually back there saying, Yikes, Yikes. I don't know if that's about my performance throughout the interview or the fact that I couldn't remember the word analytics. I think that's when he said, Yikes. I heard you say it a few times. And I didn't appreciate it, by the way. But that is OLI Long, singer, Liam Howard, guitar player. Please, I implore my fans out there, my audience, and I know that you guys are out there. You're small but fierce, and we're growing every day. Go out and check out what these guys do, man. They put out an album in 2021 called Lostalgia, LOST, the word lost, Algia, ALGIA, all one word, Lostalgia. Amazing. You will hear elements of punk. You will hear elements of pop and glam. You will hear garage rock. You will hear alternative. You will hear elements of grunge. These boys really put it all together and fuse it all into a very, very cohesive sound that is very unique, very refreshing, very excited, very needed. And no bullshit aside, man, if any big artists out there do happen to lay eyes on this, come on, man, help those boys out, man, because I think if you listen to them, you're going to fucking love them, man, love what they do. Somebody take them out on a fucking tour. Give those boys a little bit of love. The name of the band is Yikes, and I am flying the flag for these boys hardcore, man. I love what they do. Great lads. Great sense of humor, great guys, man. I really appreciate them coming on here and doing this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I want to remind you guys, as always, to take it easy and keep it sleazy.